Live from the Icebox Studio in Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania, it's the Bill and Corey Show. I'm Bill.
And I'm Corey.
Yeah, this week we're going to review recent specialty gas equipment technical support questions. First question. Someone's looking for a basic industrial regulator like the 3530A series and they need mounting options.
This is our 3530A series regulator. It's a brass regulator, and it's one of our better ones. And it comes with various mounting options. The first is the Z bracket. You have to take the knob off, pop the cap off, take the knob off, you insert this over top of it, and then we have a nut. And we give you two, but you only need one. And you screw it on the threads right there, attach the back with screws to whatever mounting plate you have, and it'll hold it up there. This is a bracket that allows you to use the back end. There's two 10x32 tapped holes back here, and these are the screws that go in there. They're not included with the regulator, but you can use this to attach it to the regulator, and then you can mount this bracket wherever you want. And then we have our protocol station. This one comes with a nice flex hose in it, so you can attach it wherever you want. But on the outlet here, it has the CGA bushing, and you can connect.
You want me to hold this?
I got it.
Oh, you got it?
I got it. Attach it to the bushing, and then you can attach your regulator right to it. And then you can attach it. It's the same bracket that I just showed you. Attach that wherever you would like. And so we have three options for doing that.
Okay, next question. I'm trying to locate a Matheson regulator. The number we have on our old Matheson regulator is SEQ 3126A 540. Then the person says it's 3/4 inch inlet connection for a cylinder, 60/40 hydrogen nitrogen, 3/8 out. Well, sometimes we get these questions from customers and their description really doesn't match up with how we look at things. They're saying the regulator's got the 3126A 540. That tells you it's a CGA 540 inlet. That's for oxygen service only. And then they mentioned that it's for a 60/40 hydrogen nitrogen cylinder. Well, that's a CGA 350. So there's a little disconnect there. And they call it 3/4 inch inlet connections. And we'll get this from customers that they'll take out their ruler and measure things and think that's the right dimension to do it. There is no real 3/4 inch here. If you look at this is a CGA 350 nut, that's almost 3/4 inch here. The shoulder on the nipple's obviously a little bit smaller than that. So we're thinking maybe they're measuring there. In the outlet, they're talking about 3/8 inch outlet. Now, we do sell regulators with 3/8 inch compression fittings on the outlet. We typically sell them with 1/4 inch on the outlet, but if they were to measure, if they take off the nut and ferrule of the regulator, and we'll have people do this too, and this part here is about 3/8 inch across, so maybe that's what they're measuring there. So when we get a question like this, it's almost always followed up with a phone call trying to figure out exactly what they're measuring. Sometimes a picture helps. Okay. Next regulator question. We're looking for a new inlet nipple for a Matheson 1L580 regulator. Now the 1L580 is an obsolete regulator. We don't sell that one anymore. We haven't sold that for a few decades. And most of our regulators have a 1/4 inch MPT female inlet connection. This regulator was back in the 60s. They decided to manufacture it with a different thread on the inlet. They wanted a proprietary thread on the inlet of the regulator. I guess it sounded like a good idea at the time. And that's a half 27 thread, not half inch pipe thread. It's half inch 27 thread per inches. So we used to have the CGA inlet fittings for that. we no longer carry those. People probably still make them. This regulator stopped being made with the half 27 inlet in the 80s. So this person's got a regulator that's probably over 40 years old, and this has elastomeric diaphragms in it, also known as rubber diaphragms, and those could get cracked over time, so it might be time to get a new regulator. Okay, I get the next question. Looking for heated pressure regulator, and it's for carbon dioxide, and their flow rate they're looking at is 400 liters a minute, which is a pretty high flow rate. Now, yeah, this is our regulator to 35, 40 series. I'm sorry, I don't have it memorized. This is our heated regulator for typically for carbon dioxide, also used for nitrous or argon. It's pretty heavy. It's got a heating element in the back. You just plug it in. It's self-regulating. Now, this can handle flow rates of 100 standard cubic feet an hour. And you translate that to about 47 liters per minute. And their application is 400 liters per minute, so this is not going to work for their application. I'm kind of wondering if they got the numbers right on this, because the flow rate, maximum flow rate out of a CO2 doer is 100 standard cubic feet an hour, which is about the flow rate of, 110 cubic feet, 110 standard cubic feet an hour, which is about the flow rate that this can handle. High pressure cylinder, the recommended flow rate is 50 standard cubic feet an hour, so that would be half of that, probably around 23 liters per minute. So we kind of have to question about that, what they have it hooked up to, and kind of double check their numbers.
Be another phone call to the customer just to double check everything, because that happens sometimes.
Yep. Okay, now we got a gas watcher question.
Yes. It says, do you need a router with a gas watcher? This is our gas watcher. It is a gauge that you can monitor your pressures remotely with your phone or a computer. Very nice little product. Yes, you do need a router with it because it needs to be able to. If you put the capabilities to communicate with phones and computers in this, it would become a little bit bigger, and so it couldn't fit all that in a nice little device like this. So you do need a router that it can communicate with, and then that will send the signal out to your phones and computers.
Okay, great. Okay, now we got a little one of these math questions you get from your kids in school. The project consists of 40 welding stations. At design, each welding station is set up with a flow meter set to 15 cubic feet an hour. The 40 stations are configured in 4 sets of 10 stations. And they're looking at a 3539 regulator, and they're looking for a flow rate at 80 psi. And then they tell us the welding gas is 75% argon, 25% CO2. Okay. So the 3539 regulator handles about 7, we rated it 7 cubic feet per minute. We have a lab here where we can got mass flow equipment, and I did a test at the pressure they're talking about, and we can get comfortably 9 cubic feet a minute, and that adds up to, if you do all the numbers, we don't have enough flow rate of what they need. So the 15 cubic feet an hour comes up to much. I'm kind of lost on this on my numbers. Don't have them all memorized. But the flow rate that they need is much greater than the flow rate of the regulator. So we suggested they would split that up and maybe have 2 regulators set up to feed your stations, or maybe even just you have 4 sets of 10 stations, maybe 1 regulator for each station. But you do need to have multiple regulators on the setup. Okay.
All right.
Okay. customer is looking for information on the cable for the output port of the PM24.
So this is our PM24. It communicates with our IPSs, what does IPS stand for again?
Indicating pressure.
Indicating, yeah, that one blanked out on me. And so it will let you know when it's running or when the pressure is low, the red light will come on. And below it is where we have our communication connections where the cables would go into. Now, we don't sell cables for this. We do sell connector kits. We don't sell cables for it because it allows the customer to be able to make their own cable, specify to whatever needs they have. It'd be really difficult for us to have a cable for all types of situations, and we would have a lot of different cables. So it allows you to make your own length and connect to whatever you're connecting to with whatever end connection you need, and it makes it much more simpler. So we would be able to sell you, if the connectors have gone bad, we do have a connector kit for you, and that is what we would offer.
Yeah, and the connector kits come with the PM24, so you don't have to buy those separately.
Yes, yes.
But people do lose those.
Yeah, they do lose those, so they are on our website sold separately.
Okay. Then we got another 3120 series question. Customer says, I was wondering if you had a model 3120A regulator with a gauge oriented in line with the regulator body. Right now I'm working on a system design where the regulator is being installed vertically. This, I imagine, would make someone tilt their head in order to read the gauge values. In order to eliminate future neck cramps, is there a regulator with the gauge oriented so you won't tilt your head?
Well, we could, there's two solutions I thought of for this one. You could add some adapters to this, a nipple and an elbow, to make the gauges, tilt up a little bit more, and that would help solve the problem. The other one is you don't have to put the gauges on the regulator. You could put the gauge before the regulator and after the regulator. So in your line, you could have a T come out with an elbow going up, and then you could put the gauge on there, or you could put and then the other gauge afterwards with another T, another elbow, and that would work as well.
Yeah. Well, you can also, with these, the regulators are marked with H for high pressure, L for low pressure, and this one's a dual stage regulator, so it's an I for interstage port. So we've had customers take the regulator, with the inlet here, and then they want the outlet in the gauge port, and then they want this gauge over here. So we can we can make a regulator like that for you.
Yeah.
So. Last question is for Corey. Do you ship to South Korea?
Short answer, yes, we ship to South Korea. We will ship to any place that the U.S. government allows us. Obviously, there are always some import and export restrictions based on various politics around the world. But yes, we will ship to you if we can.
Okay, and that's all we have for questions. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
Have a good week.